And my name is John He, and I'm a hardware engineer. And but my last name and He and could stand for a hardware engineer, but that's not how I got my last name. I got my last name and at least about 20-25 years before I started my first hardware design project. So, and I'm from Ducom Technology, and my company is also one of the co-sponsor of this event. Oh, thank you. And Ducom is so far still a kind of a small business. We started as a company offering hardware design and consulting service for other companies. And we also, and sometimes on bench time, and we also develop our own products. And one thing I want to tell you is that, and actually I'm aware that this is an advanced session, but I want to tell you that basically what I'm going to present probably is not at a very high level or advanced level. And you do not need to have an in-depth knowledge of how to do the Wireshark, how to read the trace file. But the reason I'm here because I was given this opportunity to present to make this presentation and one of the products we developed is for the Wireshark user to use to capture the packets so that you can use the Wireshark. What else? The other thing is that my presentation includes I think has 38 slides. So I estimate the time we may spend. If I just spend say 30 seconds per slide, probably just we can finish this probably in 20 seconds. But if I spend let's say 1 minute per slide, that will be probably 40 minutes. So the title of my presentation is a SPAN out of the box. So here's the outline, and this presentation relates to the TAP versus and SPAN, which is a kind of a popular topic and popular topic among many TAP vendors, and then this presentation I will examine what has been said about the cons, the negative side of using a SPAN port, and how real they are, and also we'll discuss the real headaches of using a SPAN port, and at last I will introduce a SPAN out-of-box solution that can be a reliever to these headaches. And I can start out, and the first few slides is just a quick go through of what the TAP is, what the SPAN is. And this slide shows a picture of a TAP device. It's a Lexi TAP device. A TAP, this is an inline device you place in between two network devices, and there are two network ports. Each one is connected to an end device, and so that the TAP can pass through the traffic in both directions. And also there are two monitoring ports or TAP ports, and each one is responsible for delivering a copy of the main traffic in one direction to a sleeper. And the sleeper can be considered as just a computer machine, a computer running a packet analysis software, and for example the Wireshark. And for this TAP, what we see that we have two TAP ports. And what does this mean? That to use this TAP on your computer, you need to have two network ports. You need to have two NICs. And for desktop, probably it's okay. You can add another NIC card. But if you use the laptop, that could be a problem, because you need to have two Ethernet ports on the laptop, and for some troubleshooting jobs, and if you want to carry a TAP and then use a laptop to do the troubleshooting, and this will not be a convenient thing to do. So the next page is what we call the aggregation tab. So the aggregation tab, what this aggregation tab does is it combines the two tab ports into one, so that you can just use one Ethernet port on your computer. So this is realized through this packet buffer. And the packet buffer temporarily stores the traffic in both directions and then combine these two streams into one stream. And also I forgot to mention, and both this aggregation tab and the tab on the previous page, and the tab, the sleeper and the traffic flow and to the sleeper is just in one direction. That means, okay, and the sleeper, the computer, cannot use the same tab port to send and receive its own packets. So the computer is just receive the packets. So this page shows a SPAN. SPAN stands for the Switch Port Analyzer. So the concept of this SPAN is basically, we need to understand that this is a switch. This is a switch. So the two ports here, one is connected to, say, this one on this side is a router or switch, and the other side is computer. And these two are the switch ports. So basically, a packet comes into one port, and what goes to the packet buffer, and then based on the destination MAC address of that packet, and also the L2, layer 2, and forwarding table, and then the packet will be forwarded to destination port. So this process is kind of dynamic. So, and for switch that has this spanning and function, what the span does is that at the same time that an ingress packet is forwarded to an egress port, and the traffic in the packet is also copied to a span port, which is also called a monitoring port. Yes. So this is a span, and one thing we need to note that is the span and the sleeper and connect to the span, and this communication is bidirectional, can be bidirectional. That means the computer can use the same span port to send and receive its own packets. Okay, now I did a Google search and to see and what people are talking about the tab versus span. So this is a partial results, and I got from this Google search. And the first one you see that's from NetOptics, and it's called comparing the use of tabs and span ports from NetOptics. And also this one is for the Datacom systems. These two are the tab vendors. And also the next page, I have more search result here. It's a network critical and the network instrument, VSS monitoring. So I found out that most of the tab vendors, more or less, if you go to their website, they always have either a white paper or technical article they're talking about this comparison between tab versus span. And I personally read every one of them, and then here is what they said here. So here is the list of what has been said about span. So the span, and when is okay, this is a summary, and the span is not passive, and or fail safe, or in other words, and those white papers and articles, technical articles, they say, okay, span is not passive, but then in terms of a tab is kind of passive. And also span drop packets when oversubscription and happens. And the span grooms packets and affects packet timing. And layer 2 arrows and if you use a span and the little two arrows are not visible because the switch will drop any and corrupt the packets. So if you use the span, and those packets will not be forwarded to a sniffer. And also the performance of span is not as reliable and predictable as PAP. There's nothing, and then span is not always available or accessible operationally. You need permissions, approval, and to change the configuration on the switch. Okay, so now I'm going to do a reality check to see and all these claims, how true they are. Okay, first I want to discuss, okay, and the first item in that comparison, the summary of the list of why span is not that good is they use the word called passive. So passive, and my interpretation is passive means and does not use power or having no power. Say, for example, you have a passive component that you refer to the resistors, or resistor, capacitors, inductors. Those are passive devices. And so that means having no power and not using power. And then I read another article that I found that there's another interpretation and by passive and having no effect. And I found this on the lovemytool.com, one of the article, and by Tim. It's Tom Guy, I think his name, and he has an article and also on this comparison and PAP versus span. And then I found this second interpretation. It's called having no effect. And so for the discussion and later on I think I can stick with either of these two interpretations. So now my question I ask myself, and is PAP a passive technique? Is PAP a passive technique? And first I found this one. This is a tab. It's a do-it-yourself tab, and you can find it on the internet. And this tab probably does cost less than $20. For this tab is a passive one because this does not use any power. And so the answer to me, I think, is yes, but maybe yes, and because this tab and it does not have much and practical use. First is you must use very short cables, and for connecting the tap ports, the two tap ports, and to your computer. If the cables and connecting to the tap ports runs too long, and then you may have the problem of a single reflection that will corrupt and the main single and traveling in between the two network ports. And then this one does not support the auto negotiation, and this will also be a problem if you use this tab to tap traffic that's connect to a Ethernet switch, which is auto negotiation enabled. And because most of us may know that you have two network ports, and one is auto negotiation enabled, and the other one does not support auto negotiation. What could have happened? You have a kind of a mismatch. And actually, I personally tested one before, and looks like I have one port and I disabled auto negotiation. For example, I just run 100 megabits per second and a full duplex. That's fixed at 100 megabits per second, full duplex. Then the other side I have this auto negotiation enabled, and looks like they still can get the link. They still can get the link. You will see the link LED on each side are on, and that means they can get the rate right, even though one side does not advertise this 100 megabits this speed to the other side. but the problem is the duplex mode and the duplex mode. You may have the mismatch of the duplex mode, and then if on the network port side of that has a auto negotiation disabled, there's a fixed at 100 full duplex, and the other side will be settled down to 100 megabits but half duplex, and then you will see a lot of problem, because on the network that fixed at 100 and full duplex, that part is always can keep and transmitting and the traffic, sending signal, but the other side is listening and sending. So that is kind of a mess. So for this one, so it's a passive one, but it may work or may not work. Yeah. And so this one probably will work for 10 megabits, 10 mega mode, but I don't think, and I would like to recommend it and for 100 megabits per second. Because of the previous one does not support and the auto negotiation, I think auto negotiation is a must and for nowadays and a networking requirement. And this slide shows a block diagram of a tab, which I believe is and represents the one that if you buy from any of the tab vendors today, and that's the device you will get. And this one, and the one feature of this one is that this tab supports auto negotiation. And the reason is that because this one, each of the ports, either the network ports or the tab ports, they have a PHY, Ethernet PHY, and built in. Okay? Once you have this Ethernet PHY and built in, and then the PHY is an active device. So this tab, in my opinion, will not be called an passive device anymore. So based on the first interpretation of passive, and this one is actually active. So tab is the active one. And the tab also usually has a bypass relays. And this is the purpose of this bypass relay is in case of you lost the power, the power input, and then the bypass relay kicks in and then connects connect the two sides and bypass the PHY A and the PHY B, so the traffic can still be kept flowing by looking at this and because of the PHY, then the problem of this tab is that it could still be a single point failure. The reason is that this a single point, the failure could happen is when you have the presence of the input power. And if any of the PHY and go wrong, for example, PHY is active, is an IC, is an active device, and the PHY itself could go wrong, and also the peripheral circuit to the PHY could go wrong, and also here we have this. The PHY usually has multiple and different powers. You have, for example, for the external power, you have say 5 volts or 12 volts input, and then this external power will be converted to through the DC-DC converters to a lower power, say 3.3 volts, and for the I/O and 1.8 volts, and for the core. And if any of this power, this converter power, and goes wrong, and the PHY will not be working. So then when this happens, and the relay, the bypass relay, is not connected, and then the PHY, one of the PHYs is not working properly, and then the traffic flow will be messed up. So when this happens, so this tab fails.
So you're saying that on tap, when you mirror, you're not really interrupting traffic at all. Apparently when you tap, it's flowing through the tap, and if the tap goes down, your network goes down?
The tap goes in, okay, that depends. If the tap say you lost the input power, because this relay is also driven by the input power. When the power is lost, and then the relay will be connected. So then the relay will be functioning as a bypass path. So then the traffic can go through and from here, and then run across the relay, then to the other side.
So in a mirror,
So you still have this connectivity.
in a mirror, you're just listening, but in this case, you're flowing through the tap. You're actually a part of the electron flow, so to speak. And if the tap breaks, that's the end of the data without relay.
The breaks, and that depends on how the how the tap breaks. So the tap breaks because of the loss of power or for some other reason. For loss of power, and then the tap can still keep the connectivity and between load A and load B. But what I was talking about, the single point of failure scenario, is you still have the presence of the input power. But one of the active components, say for example, the phi A and the dies, and then the relay still got disconnected because you have power applied. But when the phi and goes wrong, or say for example, and one of the onboard voltage is not correct, or you do not do the decoupling very well, or one of the decoupling capacitors and fails, and that will all either affect the performance of the phi or simply make the phi die. And when this happens, and basically the traffic flow through phi A to phi B will be affected or stopped. So then in this case, you have power applied, and then traffic stopped or corrupted. So then this I call a point of failure. So in some of this, when those white paper claim, tap is a passive device, have no effect, having no effect. If you look at this picture, in my opinion, I should say, and that may not be true. Tap is still an active device and can still be a single point of failure. Yeah, question?
So how would you contrast that point of failure or would you contrast that point of failure than really much different than just doing a span? Because you have the same issues, a phi could go down, right? You still have all the same electronics issues. Other than in a switch doing span, you may deal with oversubscription.
Right.
Here, assumably, you wouldn't because this phi is not doing any buffering.
Oh yeah. So this kind of this kind of argument is because I read that those comparison by other people is a tap versus span. Okay, they claim the tap is a passive device, not a single point of failure. Okay, so and through this slides, what I'm trying to show is a tap can still be is still a passive device. It's still an active device and still can be a point of failure. So that's the point I'm trying to address. Yeah. And then then this slide shows a look at from another perspective is can span be made free of oversubscription? And in our mind, and because you the span port, you are mirroring and the traffic in both of direction and to one port. Right? For example, for traffic of operating at 100 megabits per second, and so in both directions, the aggregate and the traffic rate is 200 megabits per second. But the span port can only sustain a maximum of 100 bits per second. So when the aggregate and the traffic goes beyond 100 megabits per second, then you will see the oversubscription, and then we'll see the packet and stop dropping. But technically, I think the span, you still can do such a span as shown in this picture. You can just mirror the traffic from one port to two span ports, just like the tap does. technically, this is doable. So this slide shows, okay, even if we do span, if we do this way, we can avoid the subscription. We can avoid the packet drop. And as far as know, and some of the switch device or switch ASIC, probably do have this capability now. Yeah. You can. Yeah. So I use this slide just trying to make a point. The span does not have to mean that span and drop packets. And if you can implement span this way and to avoid the packet drop. And then the next slide, this slide shows does tap and drop packets. And so understandably, for tab with the two separate tab ports, one for the TX traffic, the other one is for the RX traffic. And this type of tab, this legacy tab, and does not drop packets. But for the aggregation tab, like this one, and the oversubscription can still happen. When that happens, and then you will see the packet drop. So the aggregation tab will drop packets too. Okay, then the next slide, and I'm trying to show here is does tap and cause a packet delay. Again, for that, the legacy tab is two separate tap ports, and I can say that and there is no packet delay because you have two ports, and you don't have the packet buffer in between. But for the aggregation tab, and yes, you do. Yeah. You will see a packet delay, and when you are using an aggregation tab, and also the aggregation tab causes even longer delay than a switch does, than a switch port does. The reason is because, if you look at the data sheet of the typical and the aggregation tab, you will see the size of the packet buffer. Usually you will see it's 250 megabytes or even 1 gigabyte. So I did a quick estimate of how long the delay could be in worst case, and this is what I got. It's 40 seconds. So when you are using an aggregation tab, and the delay can be this long. Okay, and then we look at the timing. And one of the claims is that when the tab and the span were compiled, they say, okay, span will affect the timing, will generate the delay. And then my question is, does it matter? So my answer is probably not. First, Ethernet is not a TDM-based technology anyway. And also, it's still a best effort delivery technique. And also, the latency and the jittering introduced by spanning is negligible compared to the overall delay budget. Here is an example. And for the voice is considered as the most sensitive thing, and that is the thing that is most sensitive to delay and jittering, even more sensitive than video. And for the voice, to have a high quality voice at 150 to 200 milliseconds one way, and budget is acceptable. And then I also did a kind of a delay and jittering and caused by switch. And if you just grab a data sheet of a kind of Ethernet switch tree, and here I did a calculation. It's the delay and the jittering in the worst case is less than 8 milliseconds. This assuming a packet buffer of inside the switch is 100 kilobytes. So this 8 milliseconds compared to this delay budget, the overall delay budget of 150 and 200, and this really is kind of small amount. And this 8 milliseconds is the worst case. The normal situation, and probably the delay is just a couple hundreds of microseconds. Then the other argument is the tab can pass the L2 arrow packets, but the span cannot. So here's the question we can ask ourselves: is tab useful in troubleshooting L2 arrows? So my answer is again probably not much. Why? Because tab does pass L2 arrow packets to a sleeper, but it cannot tell and who caused the problem. So when you suppose you are able to see when you add the tab in between the two end device, and you see something wrong at the CRC arrows or oversized packets, and basically you are not able to tell and which one caused the problem, either one of the end device or the tab itself. And also, even the tab can pass the L2 arrows and arrow packets to sleeper, and most of the packet analysis tool, for example, the Wireshark, may not be able to see them, because when this L2 arrow packet reaches the computer, the MAC interface of this leak will drop L2 arrow packets anyway. I have the next slide and to show this and. Also, the tapping, in my opinion, and tapping is still intrusive because in many articles you read and they claim the tap is non-intrusive. But in my opinion, the tapping is intrusive too. And because inserting a tap may make otherwise the real L2 arrow disappear. And they may cause L2 arrows by itself. So anyone have any idea why this could happen?
Because you're putting the tap in a central point, it can actually act as a repeater.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, right. And then the other thing is, if you look at this do-it-yourself tab. When you use this type of tab, you insert this, that may cause a problem. And otherwise, a good link, and when you add a tab in the link, and that may cause the problem. So tab in this sense is still intrusive. So when if we want to and find out the root cause of the L2 arrow, I think probably the better way to do is just to read the arrow counts at the end device, if they are available. But the user tab will not help anyway. So the conclusion, and I would like to draw, is that the tab is not meant to be a tool for capturing and troubleshooting L2 arrows. Yeah, so this is to address one of the points in the argument of this tab versus and the span, because the tab is supposed to be able to pass the L2 arrows, and the span cannot. Then based on this and analysis and the tab is not very useful in troubleshooting L2 arrow. Okay, so this is a support or evidence I found online, and that says to say that is Wireshark cannot see the L2 arrow and L2 arrows. So this I found on the web page of the Wireshark.org, one of the FAQ. The question is, how can I capture packets with CRC arrows? And here, what it says is most OS probably do not support capturing packets with embedded CRCs on Ethernet. So that even if the tab can pass arrow to arrow, and the computer will not be able to see it. Say the off-the-shelf lead cards, off-the-shelf OS will not be able to see the L2 arrows. Then is span not as reliable or predictable as the tab? So to answer these questions, and so one thing we can look at is most switch vendors implement span in their switches more as something nice to have. Their priority is lower than forwarding revenue packets or production packets. And then I noticed that most people complain about span. Actually, it's just the bad implementation of span, not the theory of operation of span. And the technically, and span can be implemented and made as reliable and predictable as tab in mirroring packets. But the tab span does has its own problem or issues in using them, and but comparing tab with the span on just on the technical terms would not reveal the real problem or real issue of using a span port, in my opinion. And what are the headaches of using a span port? And in my opinion, also, and most people agree the headaches of using a span port and come from the operational side. For example, and you may need the authorization approval and to change the configuration on the switch. So to use the span, you always need to configure the switch. And if you are, say, an IT and a contractor and you're serving your client, small business client or medium business client, the last thing your client wants you to do is to touch their switch when their switch is working. And also, we are human beings. We always make mistakes, no matter how careful we are. So there are risks that a switch may be mistakenly configured and everything will be messed up again. And also, it may be hard or not convenient to access the switch. The switch in the rack room, and you go there, you see a bunch of the wires, and you're looking for the ports, and you're not sure if the port is labeled and correctly, and or if the labeling, the lemma of the port is outdated, and so all that kind of thing. Also, probably, and when you locate a switch and you want to do the spanning, but there's no spare port available, and for you to do the span. And also you may not know what you will get, because each switch vendor may implement the spanning differently, and you don't know what's happening inside. And also, this may be your first time to use that switch. You don't have that confidence never. So the root cause of these headaches is tab does not have such operational headaches that span does. This is in comparison of the tab. You are looking at the tab versus span. And then this comes from the simple fact that tab operates outside the switch box, and the span is conducted inside the switch box. So to me, I think the headaches are not what span does, but what it does. If the span is operates and inside the box, then you have all those operational issues. But for tab is working outside the box, and then you don't have these things to worry. So now we're thinking out of the box. Now we come to a solution, what I call the span out of box, SOB. So the idea is very simple, and now that we have so many issues to do the span inside the box, why we just do it outside? So just use an external and switch device to do the span outside the main switch box, just like using a tab. So this shows a picture. I have a mini switch, 5-port switch, and we do the port mirroring here. Then once we can do this, and then we do not need to get approval to change the configuration of the switch. We do not need to access to the switch. And we do not need to worry about if there is a spare port available on the switch. And because if you are an IT person, probably you use this mini switch and all the time, then you have a confidence level in what this switch will do for you. And then you may ask, okay, this may be a kind of stupid idea, or simple stupid idea, but then why not just use a tab instead? Then the reason is also very simple, it's the price. It's price. Look at this, I have this 3 snapshot I found online, and to look at the price of the tab and also the price of the switch I built. So this one is for network instrument, is 10100 1000, and the copper tab, this is the price tag is almost $800 each. And then the other one is $587, $600, and that's for 10100 tab. And then the switch and the port mirror switch we built for 5-port, that's $120. So the reason we used a port mirror switch, a mini switch with a port mirror function versus a tab is the price. This is one of the reasons we want to use the port mirror switch with a span port versus tab. And then the second reason is the usability. And to use the tab, as I mentioned, and tab, and for the next tab, you also need to have 2 network ports, but for connecting to the tab. And also, you may want to have the ability to access the internet, the network. Then in that case, you need to have a 3rd port for you to get the network access. So that the total, you need to have 3 of network ports on your computer. Again, for desktop, probably is okay. You can just buy 3 NIC cards. You can get 3 ports. How about for the laptop? Say for troubleshooting, you always say and carry a laptop, you are for tab thing and go around and then you do the probing. Then how do you get your 3 network ports? 3 network ports with your laptop computer. Here it shows an example here, tapping with a laptop. This is a workaround I can come up with. Okay, I can use this as a 1 NIC card on the laptop as 1 network port, and then I can use another what is called a USB to Ethernet adapter. Then you convert one of the USB port on your laptop and to an Ethernet port. Then you get the 2nd port. And luckily now we have Wi-Fi. Then we can use the Wi-Fi to get access to the network. You can pin to a server to another machine.
And if you've got an express card slot, you could also have an express card NIC. So you could actually do 4.
You can do exactly, yeah, that's right.
Been there, done that. Well, 3, not the wireless.
So, yeah. What?
Ethernets.
Oh, yeah. For the express card or the other card is okay. Then probably and you want to replace this. So either way, you have an extra piece to carry. USB to Ethernet or your PCI Express card. But I think the advantage, the benefits of using a PCI Express probably you can get the gigabit rate.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, but the USB, because USB 2.0, that's probably limited to 100. Then how about using a managed switch for SOB? Doing the span out of the box. Then one issue, as far as I can see, that if you use a web-based managed switch, and then the question, how do you know the IP address of the switch? And that IP address, probably is assigned dynamically through the DHCP. Without knowing the IP address, you are not able to access the management website. Then you are not able to configure the port mirroring. And also, probably now I don't see, and we have a lot of a selection of the managed switch that is small enough and portable enough for you to carry around.
You could chase the MAC address backwards, couldn't you?
Change the MAC address.
Chase the MAC address backwards, right? If the MAC address on the outside of it, then you just do a show ARP, and then you go back and find it backwards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it can be done pretty easy.
Okay, so
First discover the IP.
Right,
okay, you based on the MAC address, you find the IP address.
yeah, from the ARP
You
page.
see the trace.
Oh yes, you know the MAC address of the switch.
Which I'm thinking would be written on the outside of cheap chunk switches, right?
Oh yes, yeah. That's one of the solutions to find the IP address. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Now I have a kind of an easier solution. What I call the port mirroring made easy Ethernet switch. This is the one we did. And it's a small portable and a 5-port Ethernet switch. Actually, the port mirroring is hardwired. You don't need to configure anything. And you just plug play, and you do not need to configure the switch. And there's no IP address, and this device is not network addressable. Also, the switch is also USB powered, and also support what I call the PoE pass-through. That can pass the PoE power from the uplink port to one of the downlink ports. So this is the solution and for the span out of the box. Okay.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
How does those ports handle 802.1q packets, tag or trunk, depending on your speed?
That's what we,
That's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And how does it handle jumbo frames?
The jumbo frame. Okay. The first question is how to handle the VLAN tag.
Yes.
We tested both of these 2 switches, and the 100 model and the gigabit model. We used the SmartBit with sending the VLAN tag and the packets. And that packet, the tagged packets can be passed to the mirroring ports, going through the mirroring ports without the VLAN tag being removed. And the jumbo frame, and that's supported by the gigabit switch. And when we designed the switch, and we enabled the support for the jumbo frame.
But it's a different box. Is that true?
That's the. You mean the? That's the. Okay. Your question again? You mean?
Well, I mean, actually for both, if I'm needing to pass any or all tags
Mm-hmm.
through, is it passive enough in that mode as it doesn't do anything with tags? It simply passes the packets truly through. with the
Yes.
tag.
Yes. Sure.
And the same then for jumbo frame.
Yes.
It just
Yeah.
passes.
Just the passive. Yeah.
So it's an intelligent hub.
Intelligent, because
Well, I mean,
I think it's not intelligent because this switch just look at the MAC address, right? And then find Then based on the L2 table, just to get this packet forward to a destination port. And provided this packet is not corrupted, it's not oversized.
Okay.
Yeah, because this switch does not look at the VLAN tag or anything. They just look at the MAC address, the destination MAC address. So the benefits we can see and very easily is that, and because to use this one, you do not need to do any configuration. You don't even need to do the reverse and the MAC address and to find the IP address. And here I'm going to present a couple of user cases.
Can you go back one?
Yeah, sure.
How do you handle duplex?
Duplex.
Yeah, if you had a full, you're going to insert into a full duplex connection.
Okay, that's a question. Okay, one of my customer users and okay, if the link partner, if both sides are enabled with auto negotiation, yeah, they will work fine. Right? They negotiate with each other, and if both sides support the duplex, full duplex, and then the both sides, each side will operate in full duplex mode. So do I answer your question? Or?
No, what if you're hard-coded full duplex and you insert this?
Oh.
You're not going to do auto negotiation.
That could be a problem.
Yeah.
That could be a problem because if one side you don't have auto negotiation, and then the other side, for the other side, and that side has no way to know, and the other side is a full duplex or half duplex. But they still can get the link. This is what I found because somehow, and the side with the auto negotiation, right now the switch, they build this capability, they can sense the speed, even though the other side is not advertised, even though the other side does not advertise the speed. That's very interesting.
So what if you plug in two different speeds? An old PC, say, on one end that doesn't do 100 gigabit. You mean, okay, on one side is a 10 meg, and say full duplex, fixed. The other side is the auto negotiation not
enabled.
even worried about duplex at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
Because you've got the initial
That
flash that determines speed, and that's not based on MAC address. It's just a short frame that's sent out.
I think that should operate the same way as the 100 megabits per second, when the speed is 100 megabits per
Say you
second.
plug it into
Yeah.
into a switch at a gigabit port. The other side is a desktop
Mm-hmm.
that can only do 100.
Okay.
You plug it into the switch first, and it negotiates at a gig. Actually, that's wrong because gig will negotiate. Plug it into the switch that does 100. The desktop only does 10.
Okay. The question is,
The port is now plugged into the switch at 100, and now you plug the 10 meg desktop into the downstream port. What happens?
okay. So what you mean is okay. Let me try to understand your question. So you say you have one port and connect to the switch.
One port connected to the switch negotiates at 100.
Okay. So for example, this is the gigabit. Your switch is 100.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah.
Your
So
box there will negotiate.
so if the switch, that port supports auto negotiation, and then here and this gigabit port will be negotiated down to run at 100 megabits, and then the other port is independent.
Right.
And
does that mean you're buffering all packets?
Then you will see the oversubscription, definitely.
So
In that box.
Yeah,
Because
right.
now I've got 10
That will
meg
drop
back.
packets.
10 meg
For-
coming from the PC.
Yeah.
Feeding out 100 meg going, hello, I'm waiting on some packets here.
Right.
Going up to the switch.
Now that was a worst case scenario,
Yeah.
but it does mean you're going to have to.
But
No,
that is not the thing you want to do. If you want to say capture traffic, you do not want to say your monitoring computer run at 10 meg, then your traffic is running at 100 meg.
But I mean, if you were to plug it plug the desktop directly into the switch, it would negotiate the correct speed
10.
to 10.
There's your
Yeah.
example. So what you'd have to do is go program the switch port that's plugging into the SOB to be 10 meg to match the full length, so I get a 10 meg end to end. Now I'm back, I gotta touch the switch again,
Right.
and I can't find it, can't get to it, don't know the password, or somebody won't let me. Not any of those necessarily, but.
Okay, so, okay,
So now all I have is just a convenient tap box,
yeah.
but I still have to go touch my switch config because I've got a speed issue where this guy's gonna negotiate to the switch, and it's gonna negotiate to the PC, but they're gonna be different speeds.
So I don't understand why this 10 meg and thing come to play. You have your computer runs at the 10 meg only.
Well, let's talk 100 and a gig. That's very common.
Okay, say for example your computer runs at 100, right? 10-100 auto negotiation.
Well, no, the switch side will always generally 10, 100 a gig.
Okay,
The other side, desktop, server, whatever, may be limited to 100. Now, that's still very common.
maybe to 100. You mean?
Right.
Okay.
Now, if they plug directly together, that everything negotiates just fine and dandy.
Right,
But if you plug into your box,
right,
they may very well negotiate at different speeds.
correct. And that will not work. That will not work because if you know, for example, if you know, okay, the connection between this box to the switch is 1 gig, and then you don't want to use a computer as a monitoring device that runs at 100 megabits per second only. Then you need to find a computer to run at gigabit.
Well, I'm not even concerned with the monitoring device yet. I'm just talking about the pass-through from
Oh, okay. You are just talking about say use this
the two
as a
ports,
switch.
No, the 2 ports, the one that connects up to the switch, and the other that connects up to the server that you're trying to monitor.
Oh, okay.
The one that acts as a pass-through. Don't
I
worry
see.
about the monitoring yet.
I see.
When you get the third speed on the monitor, you have bad luck.
Oh, okay. Now I understand the nature of your this question. Okay.
So you don't renegotiate down to the lower speed,
Correct.
so we're still screwed.
I agree. Yeah. That's the case, and this box will not cover. Yeah. Thank you. Good. Yeah. Go ahead.
Does it have speed indicators on the connections?
The speed.
LEDs or something like that?
Yes. We have a single LED to say 10-100 is amber and gigabit is a green, and say when you have traffic, the LED will blink. When you get the link up, and the LED will stay solid as green or amber, depends on the speed.
But the 10-100 you said was amber for both speeds?
For both speeds.
So I don't know if it's at 10 or if it's at 100.
Yeah, that's the case. Yeah, because right now I don't think that people still are using 10 megabits per second.
We can probably find some.
Yeah, because this is a trade-off. We could build say 2 LEDs per port, right? But we just do this. We just 1 LED for both link and the speed. A bicolor LED.
You know, if you go into an airline or a chain of convenience stores, computers can be 10 years old, it's not a problem.
That's true. But in that case, then you see the amber, right? The LED is amber. Then you know it's 10 or 100. Well, say from the LED, the status, the color value, you only either 10 or 100. Go ahead. Yeah.
What are LED colors on the 1000 model? Is it only amber?
Oh, the 1000 no. The 1000 model is a single color LED. Single color LED is just the green. So you get the link, you have the solid LED, green LED on, and you have traffic, you have the blink. Any more question? Okay, here is a user case and how this uses to prove the IP phone traffic. And yesterday, and there was a presentation by the guy from Google. He mentioned the problem and probing the traffic on the IP phone, and because the computer is sitting behind the IP phone, and you have to the Cisco. He was talking about the Cisco switch. They have enabled what he called the mini protocol analyzer to dump the traffic inside the switch, and then to get the trees and from the switch, and then this switch offers another solution. If you don't use the Cisco switch, if you don't have that capability to do the spanning inside the switch and dump the captured packets and to a memory inside the switch, and this is what we can do. And also on this picture, we show the PoE and pass-through and the feature. So the power from uplink port can pass through to the downlink port and to power the IP phone, and which is powered by the PoE power. And then we have another, the USB power can power the switch. So that is this offers this portable solution. And then at the same time, and this connectivity here, and this is the mirroring ports, and this is the mirrored ports, and then the captured traffic and can be sent to the computer, and at the same time, the computer can send and receive its own packets to get access to the network.
So at that stage, if I've got a PC hanging on the end of that phone, I'm getting both my tagged phone traffic and my untagged data traffic through the mirror port down to the analyzer.
Yes.
Can you describe what the two unused ports are for? You have 3 ports.
Oh yeah, unused ports just the regular and the network ports. You can just first this switch can be just used as a regular switch. Each port can be used as a regular port. You can, yeah.
So when you said the port mirroring is built in,
Yes.
you only mirror
From port 1 to port 5. That's kind of hardwired.
And are you mirroring in both directions?
Yes, yes,
So this is, you're aggregating the traffic.
yes.
It seems to me that this has the same limitations as what you went through for
Yes,
the other devices, because you have the potential to oversubscribe. And also,
correct.
since these is doing auto negotiation, if the 5 fails on port 1 or port 2, you have a single point of failure as well.
Correct. This one is basically is not targeted for kind of a permanent deployment in the network, and this one is more like offer a kind of a portable solution for IT personnel. And for example, if you want to see some traffic at a certain point in the network, he just grab a laptop and grab this box and go there and see it, then capture the traffic. And then the advantage, you could do the same thing with a tab. But the difference, as I mentioned, the difference is the price. The tab, if you buy kind of a tab for the gigabit type, it costs you $800 or more. But this one is much cheaper. Why it is cheaper? Because tab is kind of proprietary and hardware, and their volume is also kind of limited. So that's why I guess the price is so high. But this we basically is based on the kind of off-the-shelf and switching chip. So that's why we can build the switch at a much lower cost. So the differentiation is not on the technical side. Say the limited single point failure or oversubscription. The differentiation is on the price. Yeah, so I can, so this picture shows so how this device could be used for, say, probing the IP phone. The feature we talk about is a PoE pass-through and the hardware port mirroring. And the next one I want to show is probing the wide side traffic of an access point. And this is a kind of, this is basically, I package this as for the gigabit switch. And the access point here, I especially list as a 802.11n because the throughput of this 802.11n could be more than 100 megabits. So then your 10100 model will not be able to handle. So again, many of the access point is also PoE power. So we also offer this PoE and pass-through and function. And then this use case I'll show is that how to avoid and port oversubscription. Use a gigabit switch to probe the 10100 traffic. And in this case, you find a computer, a laptop, a computer desktop, and that has a gigabit interface. And then you can run this to see this 10100 traffic and without packet drop. So any question? Yeah.
Actually, on either of the last two, if I want to plug up
Okay.
3 PoE devices into my 3 available ports there, where do they get their PoE power from? A single port connection? Is it passing PoE through?
Okay. So the PoE is only available on the second port number 2.
And is it the original max 15.4 watts, or is it the new 802.3T?
They support both.
24 watts?
And we can support the PoE Plus.
Can support plus.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're going to support 25 watts of power through a USB connection off a PC?
No. The PoE power, this is just a
Oh,
pass-through.
you're passing PoE through.
Yeah, passing through.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
we don't consume any PoE power.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Missed that.
Good point.
Okay.
Okay, I think I can go to next slide. Actually, I think this idea, SOB, span out of box, can be applied to the 10 gig systems. And to my findings, actually, for many 10 gig system and available on the market for monitoring purpose, more or less those vendors are already using a switch chip for the application of capturing and 10 gig traffic. So the span out of box approach can be applied to the 10 gig system, and the reason is right now a very low cost 10 gig switch AC is available, and we can just use this 10 gig switch box for the application of monitoring or capturing 10 gig traffic. And one example is I did a kind of design job. I designed 8-port and 10 gig switch line card. The switch chip I use is very cheap, probably under $500. That's a 26-port switch, 10 gig support SP plus. So this makes me thinking, okay, we can just use that 10 gig switch chip and to do many spanning or port mirroring and function. So this shows 10 gig and the spanning application. It's on, 1 hour. Okay, so I think this pretty much is what I'm going to talk is. So the headaches of a span, oh, I spelled it wrong. Span are not what span does, but what the span does. Comparison of tab versus span merely on technical aspects and does not reveal the real headaches of span. And we could use this concept of this span out of the box, and which is best used as a kind of a portable and a packet sleeping solution for troubleshooting and your network issues. Yeah, and here's our contact information. So, if you have any more questions? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming.